Hello there, my name is Leo and welcome to my newest making of the animation Into the Depths. My newest animation created in Blender. I love how it seems like my animations always end up with names I can't pronounce. I'm obviously German, as you can hear. It should be Into the Depths. Depth is also one of those words which is kinda funky to pronounce, and I just love that the whole making of the paradigm of Majora's ass that I quite literally mispronounced the word paradigm all of the time. I had to edit every single time I said that because it was really making me crazy to hear myself saying that because, well, that's another topic. But well, thank you very much for tuning in this very short making of. This will be much shorter than the previous making of. I will tell you a little bit about the aforementioned animation, how I've done it, how the inspiration came to life, and without further ado, let's start with a lovely storyboard. The storyboard on this one is, well, not only ugly as hell. Yes, that is supposed to be a shark. I can't draw for shit. My drawings always look horrible, but the basic inspiration for this render came basically from this picture. This was the picture that I saved for inspiration purposes. I just saw this megalodon, I can't pronounce this, Carcioclus, whatever, but the megalodon is like a prehistoric, a primeval shark that is insanely huge. Was insanely huge. It has been extinct for quite some while. If you actually have a look at the teeth, like these are, for example, I think great white shark teeth, whereas this is one tooth of the megalodon, almost 14 centimeters. So the thing was enormous. Actually, let's look at the sculpture. I don't know if all of these things are actually accurate or not. I don't care, actually, to be fair. I wanted to create an awesome animation and not dive into the biology of a shark, for example, but as you can see, it is gigantic. And so, coming back to the inspirational picture, I just thought, okay, let's make a small animation of this megalodon swallowing a diver, and that's it. If you have watched the previous making of the paradigm of Majora's ass, you know that I said that after the project, the paradigm of Majora's ass, I wanted to focus on animations or projects that didn't took as long as the paradigm of Majora's ass. The animation I've done before took several months to complete because the scope of it was so enormous. If I talk about the scope, I'm basically talking about the general idea, the final goal that you are working towards for. So the paradigm of Majora's ass was conceptualized as a very big animation, a very long animation, which I knew that would take a long time. However, this animation, Into the Depths, was conceptualized to be a very short animation that I could finish in 1 to 2 to 3 weeks. And one thing that I really loved about this animation there is that I actually managed to do that. I struggled before to actually stay in the scope itself, because there's just so much stuff going on in 3D. I wanted to polish detail A, detail B, even though they are not that important, and therefore most of my projects took quite a good amount of time, which was the reason for this project that I really said, okay, this is a short animation, this won't be anything fancy. If you look at the storyboard, I had further ideas with this animation, but I decided to not do it because, as I said, the scope was tiny and therefore the animation turned out to be very short. It is actually, fun fact on this one, it is so damn short that I couldn't place the YouTube video recommendations at the end of the video. Your video has to be at least 30 seconds or so long to place those. So this is quite literally, I think, one of my shortest YouTube videos that I've ever created. But as I said, I'm perfectly fine with that. But that's it for the conceptualization. I think what's much more interesting is Blender itself, so let's dive into it. This is the Blender scene. Gonna activate the wireframe. I think it is really damn funny to look at this animation, because let's go into camera view. Let's deactivate wireframe. Okay, it is in a box. Let's hide the box for a second there. Oh, there are so many boxes in there. Oh boy. This is the animation. This is the diver is coming from the right side. The shark is in the distance and it gets swallowed. It is very simple, it is a short animation. It is, if you look at it, it looks ridiculous. Let's unhide some of the stuff, because let's activate render view. My face cam, by the way, will now start to lag because my GPU is busy, so my face cam will start to lag. I'm sorry for that. Okay, got it. This is a bunch of noise, because this is quite literally just a gigantic volumetric. My first idea also with this animation was to create an underwater scene in Blender. I've never done something like this. Let me activate the denoising, the viewport denoising on this one. This is just a whole lot of noise, because it's a volumetric, which also means that the rendering took roughly 7 minutes per frame. It took roughly 7 minutes per frame, which was also one of the factors I decided to make this a very short animation, because volumetrics are always a pain in the ass. They look, I think it looks lovely, but the render time that you have to put into them, look at that. We are quite literally, it takes so long. This is path tracing sample 5, and now it just starts to denoise. But this is quite literally the scene. It is very, very simple. Let's jump out of render view. Let's unhide all of the other boxes, because let's go for the wireframe mode again. The shark is just, oh, Blender crashed. The shark is, and actually every model in this animation is just, let me please click on the shark. The shark is a model downloaded from the internet. It is actually not that great if you have a close look at it. It has some weird displacement all over the place, because the model that I found wasn't that much of high quality, which is perfectly fine, by the way. I didn't want to spend money on this animation, as it was, as I said, very short. The fish that you see in the animations are basically particle systems that are scattered throughout a box, in this case. Let's go for wireframe mode again. As you can see, let's jump into Eevee. There are a bunch of fish swimming around. I want to focus on one of those. They are also very low poly and do not look that good in a close-up. So these are the fish that are instanced in those particle systems, and the particle systems work in a way. I constructed this particle system with voids. Voids are, let's jump into that, are a setting in the particle system that give the particles itself, the emitted fish, some kind of, they have a certain behavior. They have, for example, the behavior that they should flock. That means that they should try to collect themselves. They should flock up to build a flock while swimming towards a goal. Actually, let's just play the animation. There is an empty somewhere in this volume that tells the fish, okay, please go here. Oh, what is going on? It is janky as hell. You can't look at those things in a close-up, because if you look at that, for example, it is swimming sideways. It is background set dressing, but nothing else than that, because if you have a look at them at close-up, they just look weird. Which is perfectly fine, by the way. Nobody will notice unless you actually... Okay. Nobody will notice unless you actually look at this making of. And that I've done for all of these, I think 4 fishes. Let me search them again. I think 4, yeah. This is another fish, for example, which that worked actually pretty damn good. I barely put any time at all into that. I took the textures that came along with the fish that I've downloaded from the internet, and I just slapped them on into the particle system, and it looked great. The rest of this animation is basically keyframing and animating, and nothing special at all. If I play it, for example, it is the fish with the swimming. The shark has a swimming animation. It's coming towards the diver very slowly, and then he eats it, so there's nothing that fancy going on. The shark is rigged with IK. The only thing that I would like to talk to end this video is the volumetric itself. I can't properly preview that because it would all start to lag. I can't show you the real preview in cycles, but down at the bottom and up on the top there are lights that are pretty damn strong, trying to cast light shafts into the volumetric. They are formed by those planes. Those are quite literally planes with a white material on it, where I plugged in a procedural noise to get these artifacts. so that the light would shine through and cause the light shaft so that it would at least look a little bit like moving water. Let's have a look at those. Yeah, there's the denoising coming in. You can hardly see them because that would actually need a good amount of time rendering to actually see what is going on. But this actually worked out much better than expected. So I actually thought that the main challenge was to create the underwater atmosphere. But all in all, that was much easier, or at least I think so, that I actually succeeded in creating some kind of water atmosphere. But one last note that I would like to say is that I really enjoyed working on this project. I think I could have done a better animation if I would actually put in more time into this animation, but as I said, the scope was tiny and I'm really glad that I actually stuck with it. Most of my animations have the problem that this is obviously my hobby, so whenever I do that, I just feel like if I want to add something, then I add something, even though that bloats the project, which is also one of the reasons why the paradigm of Majora's Mask took so long. I'm not saying that this is something bad, it is after all my hobby. If I would like to put in more time into it, just do it. But after the paradigm of Majora's Mask, after I put in 5 to 6 months into just one project, I really wanted to focusing on the scope itself, so that I have a fixed idea in mind and that's it. Nothing to add into that, not bloating the project unnecessarily, and that worked. And that worked really damn awesome. That also means that, at least in my opinion, the animation is not that great. As I said, the sound design is not the best. I think the presence of this big shark is not as present as I would like it to be. I think I should have rendered it a little bit longer, because the noise in the render is, I think, a little bit apparent. But all in all, this was a short and very awesome project. And therefore I'd like to thank you very much for watching. This is it. This was my making of my Blender short film, Into the Depths. Still hope that I pronounce it right. I still hope that you could enjoy this very short making of, that you could learn something from it, and well, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Leo. I hope you'll have a great day. Thank you very much for watching. I'm out.